Welcome to East Meets West, and this program is all about leadership and how can we help you develop your leadership skills, starting with developing you before you can actually learn to lead others. And today we have no stranger, but somebody very familiar to this platform, and he has been adding a lot of value to all of us. I've got a lot of comments too from those who are listening from different parts of the countries, how they're learning from Dr. Dot. And Dr. Dot is also part of, the late program that we have launched to do a leadership development program where you can be part of we say 6 months, level 1, level 2, total 6 months. And you can be certified in international certification through 𝐷𝐸 graduate. And Dr. Dot is also a professor on 𝐷𝐸. And now he's also one of our facilitators on this leadership development program that Lead to Influence is partnering with BGU to host this and also to give you a certificate that is going to be internationally recognized. So Dr. Dot is many things, but he's also from Nigeria, and he does a lot of work there with the people in development aspect. And I really love listening, but not only listen, I learn a lot from him too. And so having him part of our program is, enriching it, that you will definitely leave this program with something that will transform your life. So let's come back to today. We're talking today. In fact, Dr. Dot also have a program that he's doing on workplace. And so, there's so many struggles right now. I would hear so many complaints, and I like to say lots of opportunity areas in the workplace. And we're talking about the current realities of the workplace, not only in Guyana per se, but it's in a lot of countries where we're having this, sometimes I would say unethical behavior, or, people not coming to work with their heart. And the type of workers that we are having right now. And, you know, we're going to talk a little bit of what is that current realities and maybe some ideas of how do we cope or how do we, work along with these employees to help them along this way of whatever the struggles might be for them to in adapting to their work environment and what's not. So let me stop talking. Dr. Dot, welcome to East Meets West, and I can't wait for this discussion on the current realities of the workplace. How are you
Thank you very
today?
much, Dr. Shanti, and thank you for your kind words. Thank you for the opportunity you've given me many times to be part of the great work that you are doing in Guyana and even around the world. So I'm really very excited to be here and to share this moment with you.
Thank you. And thank you again for giving us your time. I know
Yeah.
you're very busy. So, we were discussing about, you were sharing actually in one of your session that there are 4 types of workers in the workplace today.
Yeah.
And let's talk about that. And then we can get into some more questions on that.
Great. This is an idea I actually borrowed from a guy called 𝐷𝐸𝐴. He wrote a book many years ago titled Anointed for Business. And that's where he shared these 4 types of workers in the workplace. And he actually wrote that within a specific context of Christians, how they work, how they, carry out their duties in the workplace. But the principle that he shared there can be applied, across board. And he identified 4 particular types of workers. And again, when I look at that, I said, every time we hear worker, our mind goes to employees. But the employer also is a worker. So this also covers both the employee and the employer. And I identified 4. And he said the first one is the one who is there for survival, who just wants a paycheck. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That you work so that you can meet your needs. There's absolutely nothing. But this is a guy who who is not really connected. Shanti, I know that you're very much involved in studies about employee engagement. This is the type that you will say that he's not engaged. He's just there for his or her own survival. And there are many employers too like that. They just want a staff who can deliver for them. They don't see the person as a human. So the second type is the one who, according to Ed, they said, this is the one who just follows what they call biblical principles. This is the one who is trying to be ethical. But while that is good, this guy is just trying to avoid the don'ts and try to do the do's. So again, in terms of worker engagement, his score is very low. The other one is, and that also, like I said, can apply to the employer. He just want a worker who will deliver for me, who will not steal from me, So the third one is the one, like, according to Ed, he said, this is the one who is inspired by the Holy Spirit. And when I look at the description of that, this is the guy who is trying to ensure that, he wants to spread his faith. He wants to spread his belief. He wants to get people, maybe invite them into his church and all those kind of things. It also applies to the employer, the employer is looking for workers who will buy into their values. They try to sort of force the values on people. It becomes which is not bad. But the fourth one, which is really where my interest is, the one who is desirous of transforming the workplace. So this guy will get a paycheck. This guy will be ethical. This guy will live a life that others can see as a model. And the worker that wants to transform the workplace is looking beyond himself or herself. Is trying to create a workplace that promotes, number one, human dignity. He wants to create an environment where people can find fulfillment, because the workplace is where we actually live. We spend most of our waking moments there. I always tell people when I teach theology of war that I teach for 𝐉𝐸ₐ, that we actually spend more time with our colleagues than our spouses and our families. Yeah. Most of us spend more time in the offices than the homes that we bought with a lot of money. We only sleep there. So that place must be very important. It's something that we need to connect with in a very, very intentional way. So those are the four types, but my focus is on the fourth one, the worker who wants to be there as a transformational leader, who is not just there for himself or herself, who wants to create a space where people can find fulfillment, they can connect with their true selves and use that true self to also connect with others. We're actually there to bring out the best in one another. I think that would be the summary of the four types. But the fourth one is actually what each and every worker, employer, employee should actually desire, to be.
So I think I cannot say that it's every employer. As you said, there are some employer who just want a body there and get the work done and
Yeah.
go home.
That's right.
It's not interested if what's happening with you. They're not interested if as long as their money, pretty much they made the money for the day.
The revenue keeps coming in. Yeah.
Yeah, you take care of yourself, and whatever's happening in your personal life or whatever, that's your problem. Keep it there. And that there are people like that. I'm not saying they're not. And I've, like, so many people would have, in our conferences, asked this question, or they'll message me and ask this question, or if we are in a group, some people would throw this question out, that they're given their all, but they have their bosses that don't even care, don't value them pretty much. And I think there are people, as you said here, there are people who desire to be valued in what they're doing. Yeah. And then there are people right now, and it's sadly that, as I said, many of the things that I say is not based on what I feel or what I think. It's a lot about what I've listened to as an experience and discussion with real people who are, leading a team or leading an organization, what they're faced with. And I do listen to many of them and hear that they're not perfect. I'm not perfect. And, we do make mistakes where leading sometimes is concerned.
Yeah.
But many of us, our hearts are also in the right place in wanting to see someone else, right? I always say see a team member improve. But there's this struggle right now in the workplace that this number 4 of being a transformational leader in the workplace, despite who you are, whether you're the cleaner or whoever you are, that I want to transform this place, that I want to make this place better because I am there. That you could say that, you brought a light into this place.
Yeah.
That is not something that it's so easily being brought into. And I think many organization leaders are given a pushback where maybe a education aspect, knowledge delivering aspect, that they're pushing back. Oh, a training is not doing anything.
Yeah.
And to transform somebody's heart, right? But I would love to hear your thought into that, because there are so many aspects of transforming a life, and the intentionality behind it, what it takes to transform somebody's mindset that would come to number 4.
It's very, first of all, it has to be a sincere desire. You can't transform others, if you yourself, you are not committed to a process that is transforming you. Because transformation operates mainly by modeling. People don't really believe so much of what they hear, but they believe so much of what they see, what they feel, what you communicate, especially the non-verbal communications. Because humans connect to fellow humans. And there's a zone that is unseen, that is not tangible, it's not material, that humans by nature we sort of seek to access. So transformation cuts really, really deeply. And it's not about you trying to transform others, but you commit to a process that is transforming you. When you begin to express that, maybe in speech, now if you're a leader, maybe you are a top, executive in that place, you begin to put that into policy, you put it into staff manual, you put it in terms of demands, you discover that you begin to replicate yourself. So this is what I tell top executives in organizations. If all your staff are various expressions of you, what will your organization look like? Yeah, if all your staff are various expressions of you, if they pick certain components of the value that you live with. And that's why leadership doesn't start with you leading others. Leadership begins with self-leadership. That the rules, the principles I set for myself, I obey them. It's like me writing a paper, and I have to grade my own paper. Will I be sincere? Will I indulge myself? Can I challenge myself? Will I be truthful to myself? So that's where leadership begins from. Leadership begins with self-leadership. So, and it doesn't matter, like you said, it doesn't now matter when we create that as the environment that we want to have a transformed workplace, a workplace that is in the process, a continuous process of transformation. It now shapes our onboarding kind of process when we hire new staff. It shapes all of that. So it gets into a point where it doesn't matter the status of that person. You might be the cleaner. My favorite example is a guy that works with NASA in the US. I always use that in my sessions. The guy is a cleaner in NASA. And they ask him, where do you work? He said, I work in NASA. I am actually part of a team that put people in space. and he's a cleaner. Now, that's a whole lot of orientation that guy has been given. Because when you talk of NASA, the most important people there on the surface of it are the scientists, are the, all those kind of guys that does all the technical job. But this guy cleans the floor. The scientists need a clean environment to be able to work. So the guy is not lying that he belongs to a team. But many times, the workplace can only, maybe we tend to define the person by the guy that carries a mop stick. Yeah. And not the human that uses a mop stick, do his work. Just like the scientist might use a laptop, might use, some other gadgets. So the mop stick in the hand of that cleaner is the same as a laptop in the hand of a scientist or so it's the human first. And I always say in my sessions, if you really want to transform, see the human first, not a male, not a female, not a Guyanese, not a Nigerian, not an American, not a Brit, but a human first. Others are secondary. When we begin to relate with people that way, then the workplace is in the process of being transformed. You don't define people by a mop stick. You don't define people by the kind of pen they use. You can't define people by the laptop, by the desktop, by how seemingly technical or higher level that their work is. So this requires, it must be very, very intentional, and it must start with ourselves. Transformation works only and is only sustained by modeling. And it can be, the cleaner that models it. I've been, I've had leaders say that when I want to know the truth in this organization, I know who to call. Most of the time, it is the very low level cadre staff that the boss is talking about.
Yep. So, I'm thinking, for one, I do believe that training alone doesn't work magic, because now training is that you have knowledge. You could go to your phone right in your hands, and you have all the knowledge that you need, but yet people will not apply those knowledge.
Yeah.
And this is where it's happening, that you have people would complain that now you have employees coming into a job and they're asking for a lot of money, and then you put them to do the job, it's a different story. There's no critical thinking as to how to solve a problem, and sometimes very simple problems. There's like a desire, or I would say maybe a care, that what, I belong to this organization, and this organization is funding my life pretty much. This organization, when I tell people that I work here, is it with a pride, that I work here, and that aspect. And so you have people who are coming to work, as you said, and I think a lot, maybe in number one, in that survival mode.
Yeah.
That is just there, let me get a salary and I'm gone. And then there are some employers who are there that want more for you.
Yeah.
They want to challenge you to be all that you can be, and want to give you other responsibilities, but you use words like this: I'm not paid for that, or that's
Exactly.
my job description.
Yeah.
And so you back off and you don't push yourself to be something greater than, say, even the mop stick, that I want to learn even more, other things in this company per se.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, the issue is, I think we've overrated training. I think a lot of us were guilty of that. I think we're beginning to draw security from the fact that we are trainers. I was discussing with a group of leaders and I said, have you checked LinkedIn recently? Everybody comes to LinkedIn as an expert. And maybe I'm guilty of that too. If everybody is training, then who is being trained? So I think my early lessons in teaching, as a professor, is that I am disqualified from teaching the day I stop learning. I must still have a job, but when I stop learning, I am no longer qualified to teach. So I think we have been victims of the limitations of words. So the word train, when you look at it again, maybe I'm teaching again now. The word train actually is like, the machine on a railroad track. The train is the machine in front. The others are the coaches. So we have a train and we have coaches. And today we often use the word to coach. That we are coaches. So there's a train that drags the coaches. That drags the coaches. So we realize that every human is a trainer. But when we have trainer-trainee dichotomy, we have a problem. Every human is a leader. When we have leader-follower dichotomy, there is a problem. We have to understand that only leaders, can be trained, because leaders are learners. So I think this is a whole new narrative that we need to bring to the fore to create another level of consciousness. Because when trainers come as an expert, you can never communicate. That's why, the way we try to train in BGU, we might not be experts at it yet. We adopt the flipped classroom kind of model, where the professor is not just pontificating, the students are also making a contribution, because it's adult learning. I develop the content of my class with every class. That sometimes I'm teaching and I'm doing edits on the presentation, because I'm also learning from, the students, because we are all learners. It's a learning community. So because a lot of times people might come to a training because their organization sent them, and one, for them, is a time to get off work and come back with a certificate, which they add to their resume. And if they want to apply to somewhere else, it becomes an advantage. So that would be the number one type of worker who is there for survival. So they collect allowance because they've gone for a training, and then they put it in their personal CV. It is, so, the company really doesn't get that. Sometimes the company might even put a bond to it. But the point I'm making is, I think maybe we're not using the right word in terms of training. I would like a word like orientation, yeah. And that would be all inclusive. Both maybe the keynote speaker and the audience, because people are not trained because of the quality of a content. It also goes into the delivery of the content, and then even how the content is received. So it doesn't depend on you, the trainer, alone. You also depend on receptivity. Effective communication is not that I've said the right thing. Effective communication is it goes across and it is received. And even when it's repeated back to me, what originated from me, I learn more. It gets clearer. That's when communication is effective. Most of the trainings that we're having, I think, it's just a monologue. It's not a dialogue. Even when we're having a dialogue, because we are not really skillful in this thing, everybody just want to promote their own idea. And it in leadership studies. One of the challenges we have is that a leader who doesn't develop the art of listening will be a problem. He only wants to be heard. He doesn't listen. And I have, in my own experience, because I talk all the time, listening is not piece of cake. It's difficult. And listening also need to be elevated to active listening. But now, for me, is how do I communicate that I can, inspire people to listen actively? So these are the kind of things that we really need to pay attention to, because human capital development is critical to effective leadership. Effective leadership is critical to having a transformed workplace. We need to have workplaces that is a community of leaders, regardless of the status. And it's going to be everyone in the process of being subjects, students, learners of human capital development. Because the human is the most valuable capital that can be invested economically, socially, emotionally. If the human, like you said, you don't care about, maybe a staff that walks in the morning and wearing a long face, and nobody says, hey, are you okay? If all that we want is that just meet your deadline, then we're not having the workplace is not living. It's just a place to go to. Yeah. Yeah.
As you're speaking, I keep remembering many organizations. I would listen to some of the leaders would say that we don't have like good workers per se. And maybe it is so that we don't have competent people hired. And countries like our country in Ghana here, there's a lot of brain drain. Many of the competent people, the skilled people would have left. And you have a pool of people now that everyone is pulling from, and which has the same kind of thinking, the same kind of work ethics, and come to work, sends in a medical, 5 days, just came out of leave and send in a medical.
Yeah.
Just every week or so they're late, and it's okay for that. And so those kind of things is not received well with some of our leaders, and despite they're giving their all into it, they would say stuff like that. And it's what it is right now.
Yeah.
Yes. And so we do have people who do come to work, and you have situation like that, people who are not pushing themselves, people who are just drag themselves throughout the day and finish the day. And there's so many complaints, I would say, that I hear from people. You want to give them a task to do, you train them, you do everything that is required to do, and you hand it over to them. Now, by the end of the day, you get no feedback, despite you have asked for feedback.
Yeah, I think all of us need to take bits and pieces of responsibility for what has become of working and the workplace. We all have to take bits and pieces of it in terms of we are all guilty of what is happening, because we've lost sense of the possibility of having a workplace that provides a safe place, a place of fulfillment for people. And I always give an example of a guy I met years ago in the guy who works with Microsoft. I went to visit a friend of mine in Seattle, and then we went to Microsoft and we met this young man. And I asked him a question: what can make you leave Microsoft? He said, wow, that he has never given it a thought. He has never thought of leaving Microsoft. It's like Microsoft is home. In fact, Microsoft determines, the kind of marriage he was involved in. I remember this guy, the wife, that was the first time I believed that being a rocket scientist is real. It's actually a field of, the wife is a rocket scientist. To the point that this guy, as an African listening to him, this guy said, I think we're so busy, it won't be profitable for us to have children. Yeah, that's what this guy said. Yeah, that might be a bit extreme, but that's how much people can get so connected to their work, right? That the two of us, the way we are so much connected to our work, it would be unfair to bring a child into that kind of relationship, into that kind of space. And that is determined by where they are in their work journey. They might get to a point where it's okay to bring a child. So I'm saying that a workplace can actually be a living place where it determines how we live our life, because this is what we do. Human beings are created as work tools. The first place God created on earth was an office. It was a workplace. Eden was an office. Yeah. So the workplace is not just something we go out to do. We don't work so that we can live. We live for the singular purpose of working. We need to widen the scope of that. Being a mother is work. Being a father is work. Being an uncle is work. Being somebody's neighbor is work. Being a citizen of a country is work. So we need to widen the scope of work, not what happened between 9 and 5. If we see it that way, then what happened between 9 and 5 is just now a component of the totality of what we do. If I am like that in the office, I can bet I am like that mostly at home, because it's my personality. So it's a lot of responsibilities, and those who are privileged to be given the responsibility of determining what happens in the workplace, maybe as a top leader, as a senior executive in a place, in a managerial role, I think it starts with us. It can only start with us. We can't sustain it. We need others to buy into it. And the way we're going to be able to get others to buy into it is going to be determined by our sincere commitment to what we believe. But if we say something and we don't do it, if we do something that is different from what we say, if some people can read the vision statement of the organization on the wall and it's only different from our lifestyle, human beings don't connect with hypocrites. They don't connect with hypocrites. I've seen organizations where you don't pay salaries, but your lifestyle has not dipped. Yeah. Your employees see that. They see that. Some of them are the ones who will raise the entries for your allowances. They know the disparity. So I believe in what Dennis Back in his book, Joy at Work, calls fairness. He said being fair means everybody won't get the same thing, but everybody will get what they deserve. Yeah. Being fair means everybody won't get the same thing. So we need to have workplaces of fairness, workplaces that actually, today's things like, CSR, corporate social responsibility, these are just phrases. What's the level of commitment to it? But we might set up all these kind of things, but how do we deal with people? It's so important. So brain drain is people looking for themselves. It can be ill-informed, it can be well-informed. But we have to understand that those of us who are leadership practitioners and we do it, we train on it, we have to understand that humans are looking for one thing in life. And that one thing is themselves. When they discover themselves, they will be connected. They will be engaged. So I, as a parent, as a employer of labor, I want my kids, I want my employees, I want to create an environment where people can actually discover themselves and come to a point that this is what I'm made for. Like that guy in Microsoft would say, I've never given it a thought, that I will leave Microsoft. And he said something like, and I think even from day one, I think I'm overpaid. That's what he said. He said, I'm overpaid. So money was no longer the issue. So those kind of workplaces are possible. They are difficult, but possible. Most times when we say difficult, what we are actually saying is impossible. And it's going to come with a lot of sacrifice on the part of, entrepreneurs, innovators who create places of work. When you create a place of work, when you create a workplace, it's an invitation for others to come and share your life. But like I said before, if all your employees are various dimensions of you, what would the place look like? So when you look at your workplace as an employer, you're actually looking at a mirror.
So I'm getting, the aspect of replicating yourself.
Yeah. Modeling.
Maybe that is a strategy. I don't know if that's the right word to use here. But for those who are listening, in that, we are complaining about what's happening in the workplace, but are we looking also to see what are we doing about it? And I
Absolutely.
think this is where, John Maxwell talks about everything rises and falls on leadership.
Mm.
And how are you leading in that? And I'm saying this because something I've found with many organizations that I've gone into is that I would do a session with their junior team members. Because coming back to your point of, leaders are supposed to be constant learners.
Mhm.
The leaders will not be in those sessions. They would send the junior people who they need developing.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
this is what end up happening. When I'm
yeah.
in a session now with all these junior people, there are so many complaints about their bosses.
Absolutely. Yeah,
All the
yeah, yeah.
the matters that going on in the office and everything, every aspect. I just have to ask 2 or 3 questions and it's amazing what comes out. And yeah, it may sound like they're complaining, but there's some truth in everything that people say.
Absolutely.
And so
Absolutely.
it comes back to, I would say, the leaders, them, and we're saying leaders here in the aspect to who's managing in a sense
Yeah.
that you have a team, you're the supervisor, you're the manager, you're the head, you're whoever that is looking up to you, that those team members are looking up to you, and what are you doing about it?
Yeah.
How are you solving the gossiping in the office? How are you solving the problems where people don't feel valued? How are you solving those problems? What are you doing about it? And
Yeah.
telling people that they need training. Are you being the example of showing
Yeah.
that,
Do
look,
you
I
do
am in
you
constant
do you
training?
partake of the training? Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been to organizations too that they just send their junior ones and they are not, and sometimes they even want to influence the things they are going to tell them. They just want it to be their mouthpiece. So, and when John Maxwell says everything rise and fall on leadership, I don't think he's talking about one person. I think the way I understand that very iconic quote is that everything rises and falls on the kind of leadership system that we put in place in our organization. Because leadership is that word itself is communal. It's not individual. It's leadership. It's a team. So everything rises and fall on the leadership. He didn't say everything rises and fall on the leader. It falls on leadership. So it's the kind of the leadership structure. A good leader is known by the team that he's been able to, and I'm not saying these are things I've done properly. It's tough. It's very difficult, but possible. It takes time. So it requires commitment. I am wired as a visionary. And this is my life mantra. If what I see right now is not what I saw, then the journey continues. I'll keep working until I see what I saw, what set me up. I want a team of people that can stand shoulder to shoulder with me. I want a team of people that can release me to go and explore other possibilities, not get my feet stuck in the mud. I want people to be able to take responsibilities, and it's very difficult because I tell leaders to, if you raise lions, make sure you don't turn to a lamb. They'll eat you up. Make sure you remain a lion. Make sure you remain a lion, and then you can send other cubs out to go. So that's the way it works. But this world, I think we are reacting to a lot of betrayals. We need to respond to betrayals. Betrayal is a feedback for us. When you are betrayed by people you have invested in, it's a feedback. And not everybody will agree with you. A lot of people will go, I tell all kind of leaders. For example, I talk to pastors and I say, if you're a pastor and your church grows to maybe like 5,000, 6,000, you are lying to people. If you are telling the truth, people will grow and go. People will get annoyed and go. It can surge. After a while, it will take a good stature again. But to just have people and people are there, you are just raising, like a sugarcane plantation. That's what that's what you're doing. And it's the same. A lot of leaders just love sycophants who will just tell them what they want to hear. Yeah, you just you just created a sugarcane plantation. So these are the kind of challenges. If it's easy to do right, everybody will do it. It's difficult to do things right. It's difficult being an ethical worker because you suffer some, you have to forgo some benefits, some self-help benefits. These are the kind of things, but I don't think leaders are called to the easy and comfortable. They are called to the difficult but possible.
I know that we've talked a lot about what's going on in the workplaces, and there are so many aspects here coming out from each one of us. So as we talk about everything rise and falls on leadership, we started off saying that every one of us, we are a leader. And what goes down, I always tell people, what goes down in your organization is on your head too, despite who you are or what position or whatever title you're holding there, because leadership is not about that. But you're part of it, and what are you doing? And so many times in those sessions with the junior people, when they start saying certain things, I start asking certain things too. So how have you dealt with this?
Absolutely.
How have you what stopped you from actually bringing up this idea?
Exactly.
And what stopped you from living this out, than saying, so one organization, I remember the person said, I came to work and I said good morning and nobody said good morning. So I just stopped saying good morning.
Yeah, that means your good morning is only good when people respond.
Exactly.
Good morning, you say good morning because it is good to say good morning. You can't control how people respond to your good deeds, but you can control your commitment to, good deeds. So it's not good. Again, let me say that it's easier said than done. It's not fun, you saying good morning and nobody responds or nobody says it back. It's not pleasurable. It's tough on the skin. But it's about, do we believe in our values? Because the word value is cherished way, non-negotiable way of behavior. I don't negotiate it. If I believe that this is my value system, I am not going to change it. I'm not going to negotiate because of the value people place on my values. I want to control the values I place on my values. I will continue, because I don't do good to people for thank you. I do good to people because it's good to do good. If they say thank you, it's okay. I'll take it. I like it. But I must not do it for the purpose of thank you.
Exactly.
Then it takes
I
me
call
back.
it transactional.
Yeah. It takes me back to the worker type number one.
Yep.
If that guy works so hard, it's because of the paycheck. If the organization runs into problems and maybe we're not able to meet, our targets and salary become a challenge, the guy is gone. The guy is gone because it's, so these are the kind of things. So I do good to people. I say good morning and they don't say good morning. So I withhold my good morning. Well, that's not being value driven. Values are values because of the way we value them. Yeah.
And I come back to the culture, because your values what build the culture.
Absolutely.
So, in wrapping up though, I want to say something that you can take out of this here is that we are all responsible for the environment that we're creating in that workplace. So wherever you are, whatever is going down there, we are part of it. And many people think that it's because the manager or the head, their job is to see stuff change. And it's not only their responsibility. Yes, they are responsible too. And it's not that they do nothing. They should be doing something about it. But it's also each and every player here that is going to be responsible for building the right culture. And I think that summing it up is this is where the problem is that what kind of culture we have in our workplace. And that culture is a lot of other cultures are coming with each individual. And that their value system, and if they weren't brought up with respect or valuing people time, they wouldn't come to work on time. They're accustomed to stuff like that. And so building a work environment now with that kind of behavior, yes, it's gonna be hard. You're trying to change a mentality that's been going on for years in somebody's life. And I wanted to say, for all those who are working so hard to make that change, that, don't give up. Come back. Why you're doing it is because it is the right thing to do.
Absolutely.
And despite how hard it is, stay on it, that it's going to get better. Believing also is a big thing, that there's hope that, in what we're doing, and you keep working with it. And finding the people that is going to be on board and aligned to where you're going is also going to be key. And you can continue doing what is right, not because it's other people don't appreciate it. Don't change because others not giving you that satisfaction or whatever it is you're looking for.
And if you are in a position to also reward hard work, make sure you don't keep it back. I was reading this Harvard report years ago that they had to dedicate a whole seminar on how to use and the need for the TY word. Thank you. It has to be part and parcel of culture. People need to be appreciated also. So the TY word is critical. Never starve your subordinates of the TY word. And what I tell subordinates is don't work for the TY word. But for you in a place of, even sometimes you get paid, send an appreciation, maybe to your boss. Thank you. So thank you is not just top down, it's also bottoms up, and it must be around. So it's the whole essence of that seminar was to have a culture of TY, a culture of TY. And if we also train like we're trying to do in this certificate, course that we want to do for, this certificate program, is people need a training. People need some sort of exposure to some realities to understand this and be able to apply it, and the whole training, is about self-knowledge. Like I said, every human being, we're looking for one thing. It's not just a thing. We're looking for ourselves. The day we meet us, life becomes meaningful. Life becomes fulfilled. You now realize that, whatever you didn't come with as a human being is a supplement. So supplement then becomes the food. We can use supplement, but supplement had to supplement something. So it's what supplement that we are looking for. So it's so important that we see ourselves in a true light and know that wherever we find ourselves, there's something we bring to the table. That thing we bring to the table is ourselves, and that is irreplaceable. There's no alternative to it. That's why your thumbprint is irreplaceable. It's not replicable. It's you and you. So these are the kind of things that this training, the one I'm doing with Lead to Influence, the one I'm doing with our Center for Transformational Leadership in partnership with 𝐷𝐸, that's what this whole thing is all about. That when humans, understand, when they're comfortable in their skin and they are not looking for someone to blow sunshine on their faces, then we can have very good neighborhoods, offices, and we're very, content in who we are. Let me just stop talking. Let me allow you close this out. Yeah.
So I do believe we have it in us. Maybe somewhere along the line we lost our values, but
Mhm.
I believe it's there and it just need to be pulled out back, and focus need to go back onto that. And
Yeah.
so think about this aspect here. Am I playing the role that I need to play to help build the culture in the workplace? Am I doing my part? And as you heard, it's not only from the top, it's from bottom up and top down, all around. I would say
Yeah,
we must
top
be
down,
involved.
bottom up, all around. Yeah, that's it.
Must be involved in making this to happen, and don't expect just one body to do it, because you'll continue to struggle with that. And this aspect too, as leaders, to listen and listening from your junior team members, because you're gonna get a lot if you start listening. And yes, we do have a lot of leaders that want to hear anything. Is what I say, go kind of mentality. And we're gonna continue struggling if you have that kind of approach in your systems where nobody listens to one another. And so, that is something maybe where you need to start working on changing. Look back to the value system that you are depicting for your team as an example, and what is the agreed behaviors you want to have as a team, and how do you start integrating this every single day in the workplace till it become this is who we are. And so it's a process. And yes, training, for me, I always say training is about maybe 60-70% of it, but you have the other percentage of you have to go work on it. It, but now what do you need to do? A lot of mentoring and all of that is important, that you continue working on one another to make it better. And so it's just not come and sit in a room and go, but then going back and do it, monitor and measuring it, tweeting it, every aspect, so that it keeps improving.
Sure.
Yes. So guys, Dr. Dot, thank you. So the TY word for using.
Yeah.
So thank you to Dr. Dot for his time and his input here. And yes, you can have more interaction with Dr. Dot when you join the classes that he is, hosting or facilitating, either in his program or our program. And so just work along the line of improving yourself. You can join our program. We will post a link so you can get more information. Dr. Dot will post his link for his program, that you can get a link and go read about it, invest in yourself. Start with you. You're valuable. And if you're not growing, you're dying. So how can you keep improving? So thank you so much, Dr. Dot. Thank you to all our viewers. Do share this, do comment, share your thoughts, share your questions, and let us be able to also add value where we can for you. So thank you again, and see you in our next session. Thank you, Dr. Dot.
Thanks, Shanti.